Football, it's always been something that we watched growing up. I used to watch games with my dad, but I didn't know I was going to be a Florida Gator until I got my acceptance letter my senior year. As soon as I got that, one of the first things you want to square away is getting your football tickets. I didn't know how big of a deal it was even as I was applying for the tickets. But once you go, you get sucked in and it's all over from there. Yeah, I mean, it surely wasn't that big of a thought at that time. It was, hey, it seemed like a fun college thing to do, go make a sign before the ball game. And we did that before the Tennessee game. Me and a couple buddies from the old Hume Hall went up to Salvation Army to pick up a sheet, and we had spray paint and a sheet, and that Saturday morning before the Tennessee game, just painted up a sign and brought it to the ball game that day. It was fun, the Gators won, and so I just kept doing it. When going to the Salvation Army, you're looking for a clean white sheet, but if you're familiar with what the options are at the Salvation Army, they don't have a lot of clean white sheets. They're clean sheets, but it's hard to find a white sheet there. So I got the closest thing to it, and this sheet did have flowers on it. And you couldn't really tell from afar, but if you're up close, you could see the flower pattern on it. And so it probably wasn't a bad thing that the first one got ripped up, because all the other ones since then have been clean white sheets. But yeah, it's kind of a funny side note there. The lingo kind of goes back to the Jerky Boys, which was a group of prank callers. And if it sounds juvenile, it absolutely was. But it was just something funny. It was just that kind of lingo that they used in some of their calls. It's probably not something I would base something on now, but it stuck with it, and we weren't going to be making new signs, just kind of bring the same one out there. That led to a fairly unique expression. Some people would come up and ask, hey, what does that mean? And even back then, some people would say, they didn't like it. Yeah, apparently the grammar was not well thought out originally, and people had some fun with whether or not it meant work 'em silly Gators or work 'em silly Gators. And so we did add a comma to clarify that a little bit. It wasn't something to where once it was made, the plan was going to be it had to be there all the time. It just kind of happened, I guess. And then it wasn't until the end of the '95 season, Jerry Spurrier saw us out and said she looks for the sign at every game. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool, And at various times, people would come up and say, hey, yeah, I see your sign at the home games or whatever. And it just got to be a fun thing to do, and a cool way to meet people and share stories. And after that, it really stuck. There used to be other signs that would go up, so you kind of have to fight for space. And there were times we'd have to put it either on the southeast corner or even over on the other side. It was just a matter of fighting for space, and if there was an available spot, then that's where it would go. But the standard spot was the northeast corner, just because that's where our seats usually were. At LSU back in '97, they got a hold of it before the game, and they managed to get that into shreds pretty quickly. The student section was near capacity, and a couple of us went over just because we thought they might not be able to read it from across the stadium. And we held it up next to them, and it didn't last very long. I've had people ask me at the game, hey, if you ever leave, let me know. I can keep putting it up. And I say, sure, I'll keep that in mind. As long as I go to the games, as long as people will let me put it up, I'll keep putting it up. To me, it's just something a group of friends started, and it's something that people come up and talk to you about it, and it's fun to share stories. I don't honestly think about it in terms of it being a Gator fixture or anything like that. No visions of excessive grandeur about it, but if a little kid comes up and says he wants my autograph on his ticket because I'm the guy that puts up the work 'em silly sign, I can't say no to that. That happened one time, and that was just pretty cool. It just led to sharing stories with that young man and his dad. So since I started coming in '93, I missed one home game, but I managed to have somebody bring the sign for that game. Since the sign's been made, it's actually been in more games than I have. Being a Gator means this is the place where I went to school. This is, it's always gonna hold memories about being a student here and the fun times of being a student. There's certain people that you only see coming back for Gator football games. And so a lot of it's just sharing memories with other people who had similar experiences. And it might not even be just students. Some folks have been a Gator fan much longer than I have, and just sharing stories with them and old road trips and reminiscing about past games. It's just a bond that you have with one another, and like I said, for me, it all stems back to what life was like here when I was a student, and you know, making it through some challenges there, and just, you know, bringing family back into it and starting the cycle again.